came back and backfired. It just felt like when Zane didn't hit that ball, there was just like a weight lifted off of the entire Tennessee team, and I think they just played a lot more free, really, the rest of the game.
That's fair. Jack, when you look at the matchup against LSU this go around, based on what you saw in the 3-game series earlier this year, what do you think is different about this Vols team, and how do you think they match up this time against LSU on Saturday night?
I think it's different. I mean, they weren't really able to touch Paul Skeens, right? So I don't know if that's going to be much differently. If you told me that Tennessee had three hits against Paul Skeens on Saturday night, I wouldn't be that shocked. I think what's different, though, is they are not going to make those defensive mistakes, those just little league blunders that they made in game one against LSU. Seth Alverson, Christian Moore defensively, you remember how it went down. So I don't think things will unravel for Tennessee like they may have unraveled earlier in the season. Not saying that Tennessee's going to be able to have more offensive success against a guy like Paul Skeens. I think they are better offensively, but not by a crazy amount. And then the pitching, if Andrew Lindsey goes on Saturday night, we've seen how dominant he can be. But of course, LSU's lineup is LSU's lineup, and they haven't changed much. So little adjustments in, I guess, what Tennessee's game has become, but more so not making those mistakes.
Ryan, are you tempted if you're Vitello and Frank Anderson to go Dollander on Saturday night?
You don't want Chase in the elimination game.
No, I like it. I like Andrew Lindsey in the elimination game.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would do, because I think when you're trying to match Paul, like what does Tennessee need to do to beat Paul Skeens and LSU on Saturday night? And the pitching needs to be dominant. Like that's the answer. And to me, Chase Dollander, his ceiling. Now, don't get me wrong, Andrew Lindsey has been dominant in starts, so I don't want to act like that he's just incapable of that. But Chase Dollander's ceiling is higher than Andrew Lindsey's ceiling. He pitched well, and really well, honestly, in that LSU game. I think it's easy to forget, to Jack's point, like the game was tied in the 8th inning because Chase Dollander had matched what Paul Skeens had done. He hadn't been quite as dominant. There were more base runners, but the runs on the scoreboard were the same. And then Tennessee booted the ball around Southeast Louisiana in the 8th inning, and they lost the game because of it. So I think that factor, not that Andrew Lindsey hasn't been in big games. It just feels like Chase Dollander's been in more big games, and whether that means he'd perform better, I don't know. But I like the idea of having a higher ceiling guy there. And then at the same time, like if you lose that game, I like the idea of having the higher floor guy in game 2, where Chase Dollander could very easily, and he hasn't done a ton. Like it feels like his stat line is almost always 5 innings pitched, 2-3 earned runs given up. But
all in the first inning.
all in the first inning, or all in one inning at least. Yeah. And like you said, oftentimes the first inning. And if Tennessee hadn't scored 6 runs in the 4th inning against Southern Miss, that very easily could have been 4 runs in 4 innings, and he's gone. So whereas Andrew Lindsey, to me, it feels like his floor is, I guess what he did against Southern Miss. But for the most part, he's going to give you 6 innings, 2 runs. He's going to keep you in the thick of it. It feels like his floor is higher than Dollander's, and Dollander's ceiling's higher than him. Yeah. And because of that, it makes me like the matchup of going Dollander against LSU and then saving Lindsey for game 2 against Wake Forest, or if you lose, having him in an elimination game.
But we don't think they're going to do that, right? We think
I don't think so. No.
I wouldn't see it happening.
Interesting. Well, what is your official prediction here? Do you think they beat LSU on Saturday night? And we'll go under the assumption that Andrew Lindsey is pitching for the Vols. What do you think, Jack? Do you think they win?
No, I don't. Okay. I think it's a close game. I think all the way through, but LSU's offense is just too good. I think they edge out Tennessee in game 1.
Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, same thing. Paul Skeens LSU's lost 1 game when Paul Skeens was on the mound this year, and their bullpen blew it. So it doesn't mean it's impossible to do, but it's going to be really, really tough. And one thing I will say, you go back 2 years ago, and everyone talked about, man, this ballpark's bad for Tennessee. This Tennessee team because all the home runs, and I guess you could say it played out that way because Tennessee's offense didn't play well. I'm not necessarily sure that was the reason. I don't think they hit a whole lot of balls that weekend. It would have been home runs at Lindsey Nelson Stadium either. And I didn't feel like that was going to be a huge thing. But for this team, it does feel like a huge question mark. You brought it, Chase, you brought it up during the Southern Miss game. What's Tennessee's records in games this year where they haven't hit home runs? And I didn't know the answer, but I thought the point was pretty valid that Tennessee's offense is, to me this year, much more home run dependent than it has even been in the past. Now they haven't hit as many home runs, but those offenses were just better than this one. So it feels like this offense needs home runs to score, and that's going to be really hard to do against Paul Skeens to begin with. It's going to be even more difficult to do in a really big ballpark. So I'll be curious to see like if Tennessee changes things and plays a little bit of small ball and tries to bunt guys over or anything like that. I mean, they haven't done that much this season. I guess they did a little bit of it against Southern Miss. It didn't work. The one instance, I think, when Hunter Ensley maybe bunted Maui over in one at bat.
He did, yeah.
I'll be curious to see if there just is like a philosophy shift of what Tennessee tries to do offensively, at least in game one. I imagine over the course of the week they won't get too crazy with it. But between the big ballpark and Paul Skeens, I wonder if they get a little more creative.
Yeah. Either way, it's fun. We'll see what happens. Like, it's Omaha. It's going to be weird. Tennessee, of course, making Omaha in 2 of the 3 years and not making it the year where they were maybe the best baseball team of our lifetime, because that's the most baseball thing ever.
Yeah.
Did the Vols land? Well, let's move on to the schedule release here. Jack, when you look at what Tennessee ultimately got here with